And thanks all of you for your testimony. Clearly, we have a lot to address here. Dr. Heinonen, I'd like to start with you. I wanted to touch on an issue you raised in your testimony, and an issue we heard 2 weeks ago also from David Albright when he testified before our full committee, and that is regarding Iran's likely violations of some of the conditions of Section T. Could you tell us why you believe Iran is likely in violation of Section T, why the IAEA would require access to military sites for its verification, and why IAEA access to military sites in general is critical to being able to certify and verify the JCPOA?
Thank you, Chairman Ros-Lehtinen. When I look the Section T, and I look the conclusions of the IAEA report, I cannot read the report in such a way that IAEA states that Iran is in full compliance with its obligations under Section T. Why I say so? Because what the IAEA just says that it's a monitoring and verifying Section T. It doesn't tell, like we used to say in 2003 when we had the EU3 agreement, where the sentence continued and said that, and there is no indication that Iran is in non-compliance with this undertaking. So the IAEA leaves this a little bit open in the text. And this is why I request or suggest that the text should be more precise. Tell, is Iran fully compliant? Then comes the second part of this exercise, which was also raised by David Albright, is that when IAEA says that it verifies Section T, at the same time the IAEA Secretariat says that they have never visited during this implementation period any military site. So it's difficult to understand which kind of methodology IAEA uses to monitor, for example, these multi-point detonation systems, which are certain types of them are proscribed under Section T. So how can the IAEA come to the conclusion that such activities don't exist? Or is it actually that IAEA has not been yet able to verify? So therefore, it's important that the IAEA comes out of the shell, tells if there is a problem, and then addresses the problem and has those accesses and tells what exactly has been done. And this is, I think, is very important to the credibility of the reports and to credibility of the verification system. There should be no limitations on accessing those places because Section T is an obligation for Iran to implement.
It's very clear. Thank you so much. Ambassador Wallace, you state that the key piece of leverage that we have on Iran is economic pressure. And as I mentioned, our European friends, and you mentioned it as well, have entered into many deals with Iran worth billions of dollars. In other words, they have significant economic interest in Iran. They have not taken any action against Iran on anything non-nuclear related, partly because they don't want to damage their economic opportunities in Tehran. And as you noted, we don't have the leverage now that we had previously over Iran, but we have leverage with the EU to seek a better deal. So I ask you, how do we leverage this opportunity now to get the EU to both work with us to get a better deal and to take serious action against Iran's non-nuclear related activity?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Look, this committee and the group of people that worked in the Iran space became expert at applying economic pressure to bring Iran to the table and to influence their economy. The charts that we've provided here show economic data associated with the time of sanctions, both before, during, and after the JCPOA, and you can see the effect that you all had and the administration had related to Iran. We have to get back to that place. And I would assert that as Iran has used the JCPOA to promote its activities, they've used the cover of the JCPOA as if everything else is hands-off. We can use our concerns about the JCPOA and our concerns about Iran's behavior to drive the leverage to impose additional economic pressure on Iran. Mr. Deutsch, Congressman Lehtinen, we You all have done this for years, and that's frankly what led to the JCPOA. And I would just say we have to take a deep breath about the decertification issue. We have a lot of fake debates in Washington these days, and I would suggest that, with due respect, that the decertification was a little bit of a fake debate. The sky didn't fall with certification or not certification. Now we have to deal with Iran's behavior. As Iran did not deal, and our government did not want to include a variety of issues in its negotiations in the JCPOA, it carved out everything from missiles to terrorism to human rights. Let's now readdress those. Let's respect the JCPOA as best as we can. Let's use our allies and our mutual concerns about Iran's behavior and our mutual concerns about the JCPOA and this continuing leverage that we have and that you all can provide by enacting ever-increasing economic pressure to drive supplemental agreements or other pushback of Iran, such as Secretary Tillerson said the other day, why are the Shia militias still in Iraq? We effectively allowed them to digest Iraq like a python eating prey. We have to push Iran back, and we have to use our economic pressure to do that. And it's worked in the past. It can work again, but it requires a bipartisan consensus, and this committee has always been able to do that.
Thank you very much for that thoughtful response. And Mr. Deutsch has opted to be the closer, so we will turn to Mr. Schneider.